Hi everyone, this is Eric Sharp from Protofuse and welcome to another edition of Intelligent Bytes. Today we're going to talk about how a buyer persona impacts a website's copy. A buyer persona is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So basically, yes, a fake person that represents a real person. Here's an example of a buyer persona for the website we will be looking at. I love the old adage, if you design for everybody, you're designing for nobody. A buyer persona helps you design a website with a laser focus on your ideal customer. So by taking the time to understand and document their goals and behaviors, your website will be that much more persuasive and thus have a higher conversion rate. Once a buyer persona is created, it's used as a resource to making decisions, including elements like your visual design, your calls to action, and especially copy, which is the element we're going to be zooming in on today. MolluscumRx.com is the website we will be looking at today. And just as a quick disclaimer, MolluscumRx is a client of Protofuse, but it's a really great example. Before we review their buyer persona, let me explain what they actually offer. So here's their product. It's a 1 ounce bottle which retails for 60 bucks and it helps cure a contagious pox virus called Molluscum contagiosum. It's a over-the-counter natural treatment and as you probably can assume, it's an extremely niche product. And I'm sure you've never heard of molluscum before, but that's probably a good thing. So let's get into their buyer persona. In their buyer persona, they've documented 3 critical elements. So there's a lot more in their buyer persona than just these 3 elements, but this is what we're going to zoom in on today. First and foremost, it's for mothers. As far as their buyer persona is mothers, and the product is for children up to 10 years old. So even though the product is for children, obviously the mother is the one buying on their behalf. Second, they have a sense of urgency. These mothers may be even slightly panicking because, as we talked about, Molluscum contagiosum is very contagious. And then 3, they need real answers and they're looking for a cure. Typically, their search for a remedy for this begins with their physician, and they're kind of tired of all the doctor mumbo jumbo talk. And the doctors recommend that they can burn or scrape off the warts. And of course, they're saying, step away from my child. You're not going to burn or scrape this off. I need an alternate cure. And so they head to Google and they start doing a search. And that's where they find Molluscum RX. So how did they use this data from their buyer persona to write great copy? Let's dissect their homepage. Let's take a look at what I've circled here in red. And let's begin at the very top here next to the Buy Now button. No prescription needed. Because these mothers came up empty at the doctor's office, it's important to place this little piece of verbiage right next to their call to action, the Buy Now call to action. Obviously, we want them to know that you can buy this product and have it shipped and you don't need to get any sort of prescription for it. So again, speaking into the pain points of the mother, getting it as quick as possible. It works, proven 95% effective. There's a lot of skepticism in natural products, so mothers want to know that this product is actually going to provide a cure. Same-day shipping. Remember that urgency they're feeling? Maybe a little panic? Same-day shipping hits on that pain point. Even that big copy at the bottom that you see here, though it's not exactly a well-worded value proposition, which I think is the number one most important thing on a homepage, it also reiterates some of these concepts. Over the counter, mother's best and most effective. So these copy choices resonate with mothers. It helps build trust. It influences the buying process. And Molluscum RX put in the hard work to understand their buyer persona before they design their site. And because of this, they've had a 20% increase in sales year after year. So to learn more about a buyer persona, I definitely recommend an article from the Content Marketing Institute, How Do Your Buyers Consume Content? I can be found on Twitter at EricSharp_. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.